Hi, everyone. Welcome back to TYP. It's me, Megan, as always. Thank you for sticking with us for this long. It's a cold, cold day here in Pennsylvania. Winter is here. And it snowed today, so forgive my hat hair. It's winter hat season here. Anyway, today, I've been kind of thinking about doing this video for a while and kind of deciding whether to do it or not. But with a little push from my therapist and I guess a little courage from what I've seen in the world lately, I decided that this would be really important and timely. So originally I had named this podcast or this video, Mourning the Life We Thought We'd Have. And I thought that was kind of, it's accurate, but a little bit depressing. So I think I'm going to come at it from a place of more like a letting go of the expectations of what we thought our life would look like moving forward and finding fulfillment in the life that we have left to live. That's what we're going to talk about today. So another kind of heavy one. And, just a fair warning, if you're not in the right headspace to listen to this, to talk about this, then turn this off, go do something nice for yourself. And, if you're ever in a space where this is going to be helpful for you later, come back to us. But I think that this is going to be kind of a more vulnerable video. And I think it's not just for people that are dealing with an illness, but dealing with, probably for most people, just letting go of the expectation in our head of what we thought our life would look like and finding fulfillment in what we actually have, what our life is like now, and trying to find contentment with that. Yeah. So let's dive into it a little bit, right? So I think for a lot of people, when you're dealing with an illness or when you're dealing with a terminal disease or, kind of any major life event that kind of makes you stop and reconsider your life plan, that's a shock, and that's something that's traumatic. And this has definitely happened to me. And, especially when you think that your life is going to be shorter than what you originally anticipated, you start to kind of run this tape in your head of, well, I thought that I would be able to travel. I thought I'd be able to retire. I thought I would be able to spend my retirement happy and healthy with my spouse, who I love. And maybe that's just not exactly what it's going to be like. And it's okay. It's okay to mourn that. And I think it's important to mourn the loss of of the expectation we have in our head of what we thought our life would look like or where we thought we'd be. And that could be anything, really. That could be, I thought I'd be in a different career by now, but I'm not. Or I thought I'd be more fulfilled in life at this point, and it hasn't happened for me. Or, my job isn't exactly what I thought it would be. Or I thought at this age, I'd be married or I'd still be married. Or I thought I'd have a family. I thought I'd have kids. I thought I'd have 3 kids, what have you. And, that's the reality, I think, for a lot of people, not just ill people, not just people that are dealing with something traumatic. I think this speaks to just a lot of us regular people going through our day, trying to live our life as best as we can and trying to deal with things. Um, but I think it's important to sort of reevaluate our life from time to time and say, maybe I thought I'd have 3 kids. I thought I'd be married. I'd have a house. I thought I'd have 3 kids, and I thought I'd have this blossoming career in a job that I loved. And, I'm just not there. But, I'm trying my best. And that's okay. And it's okay to be good with the decision and to be good with the life that you are living. And also be a little sad from time to time or mourn what you thought you would have. And I think we can find fulfillment and contentment in our life. And is that easy to do? Not always. But, nothing worth doing is easy, is it? So I'm going to tell my experience with this so far. And I was really hesitant to do that. And I didn't know if I should, if it would be too much for people. But I feel like a lot of people could probably relate to my story and have probably been through something similar. So my hope is just by sharing this, maybe you can commiserate, or maybe, you feel like you can relate to it, and hopefully that's helpful for you. So I guess where I thought I'd be at this point in my life, I'm 35 years old, been with my husband for 12 years. And I really thought at this point that I'd have a couple of kids. And that hasn't worked out for me, and it's not going to work out for me. And it was something that I thought I was handling really well until certain moments come about where it's brought up. And then I'm reminded, I never really dealt with that, did I? I'm not handling it as well as I thought I was. So like I said, I've been with my husband for 12 years, and I always wanted to be a mom. I always wanted to have a family. And a couple years into our relationship, I kind of knew that having kids for us is going to be something a little bit more difficult. We had some issues with that. So I guess a few years ago, or with COVID, time is weird. But I would say about 4 years ago, we started to started to juggle in our head the idea of adoption. So I really thought that having a family the old-fashioned traditional way was not something that was working out for us. And I didn't want to go the IVF route. It just wasn't right for us. And a lot of people have success with it. So and I know it's difficult. So, if you went through it, bless you. And I'm sure that was a really hard decision. And I really hope it worked out well for you. But for us, we decided to look more into adoption, which turned out to be a lot more difficult than I anticipated. So, for those of you looking into it, or those of you who have done it, God bless you. It's a hard road to follow, I think, but hopefully so worth it, right? So adoption was also a lot more expensive than I anticipated. So we started to save our money, found an adoption agency fairly locally to us that we really liked. Turns out there was a waiting list to get on a waiting list. So we started saving up to get on the pre-waiting list, essentially. And while we were saving up and while we were kind of going through the preliminary steps to see if this is how we could get a family together for ourselves, I guess in February of 2020, I found out that I was pregnant. And that was very, very unexpected. I never thought that I would be able to. But, that turned out to be fleeting. I made an appointment with a doctor, and before I even was able to see my doctor, it was gone. And I didn't tell anybody. I didn't tell anybody other than my husband, which I kind of regret now, although I'm telling all of you now. But, I kind of just went through it. I went through it, and I was like, okay, like this happened. It was unexpected. It was a surprise. But the good thing is that it did happen, and it can happen to us again. So never lose hope, right? And I kind of did a stiff upper lip, oh, I handled this really well. Pat on the back. Let's keep moving forward. Yeah, didn't handle it as well as I had thought because I never actually dealt with it. And we'll come back to that. But February of 2020, this actually started. I didn't bounce back from it physically. And little did I know it was because I had cancer. But had that not happened, I might not have started going to as many doctor's appointments and kind of figuring out what was happening to me. So in the end, this might have been the catalyst that saved my life. Who knew? But, this was something that, I kind of, 25% of women go through miscarriages, and I'm one of the 25%. So, if you've gone through it, you're going through it. I know what it's like. And, it's hard. It's hard. And I think it's not something that we talk about. And that's something that we should talk about, which is why I decided to talk about it today. So moving through February, March of 2020, kind of fast forward a little bit, kind of went back to putting more effort and kind of ramping up our efforts to save more money so that we could get on the pre-waiting list for the adoption agency after this happened. And kind of going through the motions, and I was like, yeah, look at me. This happened to me. I'm handling it so well. So naive. And, we're just going to power through it. And however we can have a family, that's how we're going to have a family. And, I was diagnosed with cancer in September of 2020. And all of a sudden, I should say this. I didn't know this happened, but when you go through chemotherapy puts you into menopause, essentially, like a chemo-induced menopause. And so many people told me after the fact, they're like, well, didn't you want to save your eggs or go through fertility treatments? And I mean, when they found out I had cancer, it was like putting out like a 4-alarm house fire. It was like we couldn't get to it fast enough. Egg retrieval or anything like that was just not an option. Neither was taking the hormones I would need to properly go through the process. So here I was at 34, going through chemo-induced menopause and not sure if I was going to make it to 2021. So at that point when I was fighting for my life, it didn't seem to be as big of a deal that this had happened to me. And the fact that I might not be able to have a family was kind of like on the back burner. And then when I started responding to chemo and thought that I'd have a few more, more life left than I initially thought, kind of checked in with the adoption agency just to get some more information, and found out that you had to be 5 years cancer free to be even on the waiting list for adoption. And chances of that happening were kind of like slim to none. So adoption became less and less of a possibility. Having my own kids now that I was 34 and in a chemo-induced menopause, and not sure if I was ever going to be able to have my own kids. My options were, not existent essentially anymore. And also, the fact that you're not even sure how long you're going to have left. So, moral obligations of, even if you could have a kid, would you want to? Is this the ideal situation? Ugh. Anyway. So here I am now at 35, and still kind of dealing with it. And I actually had, and this was ridiculous, I actually had a chemotherapy appointment just a few months ago, and I was having some weird complications, and my doctor became like oddly worried about it. And he sent me in for like a pregnancy test. And at first I was like, you've got to be kidding me, right? I'm in a chemo-induced menopause. And he's like, yeah, but at your age, and with these complications, we just have to really be sure. So, waiting for that pregnancy test to come back was the longest. It was 20 minutes. It was a blood test. It's the longest 20 minutes of my life. And all of a sudden, things started to replay in my head. And I was like, if this comes back positive, I swear this is the world's cruelest joke. It's just, it would be ridiculous. It would be absolutely crazy. The world's cruelest joke, I thought. And I was sitting in the chemo room getting chemotherapy, waiting for my pregnancy test to come back, and just bawling my eyes out. Because I realized it took me back to that time where, I thought I'd be a mom for a brief couple weeks, and it didn't happen. And then not dealing with the fact that, I didn't think it would ever happen for me ever again. So this is something, I'm just sharing my experience, I guess, as like for people that can commiserate. I am trying to find a place where I'm okay with it, where I'm okay with the fact that I thought I have a family at this point, and I'm not going to be able to do that, and I haven't properly dealt with that. I haven't gone through the whole grief process, obviously, because these things keep popping up in my life, and I'm realizing that I haven't dealt with it properly. And things that I, previously patted myself on the back for, thinking I handled them so well. Well, guess what? I didn't handle it. That's why I didn't handle it. And that's why these things keep popping up and why I'm having these reactions to them, right? But grief is cyclical and it comes in waves. It's not just a process. You're like, oh, okay, went through the grieving process. That's over with. Now let's move on to the next thing. It just doesn't work that way. So this is probably something that I'm going to be dealing with for, a while, if not forever. And, that's okay. And I keep telling myself that's okay. And I hope that if you're going through something similar, I really wish you the best. I really do. I can empathize. And if you want to talk about it with me, I would love that. I really would. And we can talk about our experiences, because I think that's important. Brene Brown says that shame grows in the darkness. And I just read that again recently, which is why I decided to make this podcast and tell my story. Because I think for a lot of people, this is something that we have shame about. We have shame that we weren't able to have kids. We have shame that we weren't able to find the success in our career that we thought we'd have. We carry shame that we, maybe didn't have the success in our marriage that we thought we'd have. Or shame that just things didn't turn out the way we originally planned. But it doesn't have to be that way. And I think by talking about things takes that shame away. And if we talk about it amongst people in a community like this, or people we care about, people that care about us, that can relate and share their experiences, the shame shrinks and eventually goes away. And we can kind of come to a place where we can reckon within ourselves that this isn't something to be ashamed about. This is just me being a human and trying to live my life the best that I can. We're all just out there doing the best that we can. And sometimes it's really hard. And sometimes we run into really hard things and deal with really traumatic things. And that happens, and that's okay. And the important thing is that we're dealing with it. We're trying to handle it. Whatever traumatic event that happened to you that blew your life up into a million pieces, it sucks. It sucks. But, like I said, here you are. And you're trying your best to pick up those pieces, put your life back together, and keep moving forward. And that's the really important thing, right? So, how do we find fulfillment in where we are? I think stuff like this helps, which is why I'm doing it. I think talking about it, taking the shame away from it, shedding some light on just what should be a human experience, not something that we should carry shame about or be upset about. It's just part of who we are. Part of being a person is dealing with stuff like this, right? And kind of, taking that shame away from it, right? And kind of doing that, yeah, this happened to me. It sucks. But it's all right. I survived this. I'm moving forward in my life. And that takes courage, right? That's really courageous. It is. And we can still live a life in a wholehearted, fulfilling way, even if it's not what we expected, right? And I mean, at the risk of sounding cheesy, I heard this quote on an episode of Queer Eye. And it's from a psychotherapist. It's from Karama Brown, so it's legit. This quote, it's kind of a quote plus Brene Brown plus things in my life happening that kind of pushed me to do this video. So I'm going to share this quote from Karama Brown. He said, if you have some breath in your body, that means you still have the ability to live your life and start doing the things you love. So yeah, what does that mean for us? So I think that means that, in my situation, I thought I'd be 35. I'd have a couple of kids. I bought this house so I could have kids. I bought this house in this school district and researched neighborhoods and set my life up so that it would be a certain way. And, it's okay that that didn't pan out. And it's something I'm going to continuously deal with. That's okay. This is part of the human experience. Sometimes things don't work out the way we thought. But how do we find fulfillment in other ways, right? And it doesn't have to be anything profound. I think it's just, how can we do things in our life that are authentic and lead us to live a more wholehearted life, more grateful life, a happier life? And I think that all ties into surrounding yourself with support and surrounding yourself with people that love you and finding the joy in the other parts of your life, right? And for me, I try and take this experience and I say, you know what, this happened to me and it sucks. This isn't what I thought my life would look like. But I am grateful. I'm grateful to have this house. Even though it's not, a house full with kids. I have a house. I have a roof over my head. I'm grateful that I was able to see a lot of my friends, my family members start their own families, and watching them be parents is just so cool. And, I'm grateful to have 2 nephews who I'm, seeing grow into teenagers, which is just wild to me. And, I have 3 nieces who I just adore. And, I have a sister-in-law who lets me see those nieces whenever I want, really. And, watching her be a mom and go through this experience and, having her be so supportive and so willing to let me be a part of her kids' lives is just so important to me. So for me, finding fulfillment, even though my family looks different than what I thought it would look like, I am still practicing gratitude for having a family, right? And I'm so grateful that, I have my nieces and nephews in my life. And, for me, I decided, okay, if motherhood's not a possibility for me, the next best thing is to throw myself wholeheartedly into being a good aunt whenever I can, right? And I have a dog and I have a cat. So even being a good dog mom, as silly as that sounds, it's something that I find fulfillment in. Is, kind of training my dog and, doing fun things with him and, taking care of my very old cat and seeing her live a long, happy life. It's just like little things like that. And, say you thought you'd be in a different career at this point or a different part of your career. If you're working and you're able to pay your bills, good for you. It might not be what you thought it was, but you're doing it, right? If you're helping somebody out some way in your life, either with your job or just being a good friend to somebody that needs it, or providing a little bit support to somebody in your life that's also going through something hard. That's something you can find fulfillment in. So I think if we just shift a little bit, do this happened to me and it sucks. And it's not what I thought would happen. But you know what? Let's try and make the best of what we have. And let's kind of shift our expectations. Even if we can do something small, we're still doing it. And that's courageous. And that's really cool. And I think we should celebrate that, right? So that's our podcast for today. And I really hope that this helped somebody. And if you have a similar story, or if you have a story like this, I think so many people, just when you're growing up or at certain times in your life, you just have this vision of what you think your future is going to look like. And, whether you're going through an illness or not, I think it's something that a lot of people can relate to. And it's okay to be sad about that. And it's okay to mourn for the life that you thought you'd have. That's okay. And it's going to come up from time to time. But, as long as, in general, we're moving forward and can find some fulfillment in what we have, that's the important part, right? Because, we have some life left on this earth. Might as well enjoy it, right? So, if you want to talk, you want to share your experiences on camera or not on camera, please comment on any of our platforms or email me at terminalyetpurposeful@gmail.com. Thanks for hanging in there with me today. And I hope you have a great day and go do something nice for yourself, okay? Bye.